Have you ever noticed how hard it is to actually enjoy something before it's completely finished? Because I've realized recently that I do. At the moment I'm trying to pull my house together, there are shelves to put up, pictures to hang, rooms to decorate, cupboards to organize, little jobs everywhere I look, and big jobs. And for a while I kept finding myself thinking, I'll enjoy it when it's finished. I'll light the candle when the room is done. I'll sit back and relax when the house feels complete. I'll enjoy it properly when all the jobs are finally ticked off the list. But lately I've been wondering if that's actually the wrong way around. Because the truth is, homes are never really finished. For instance, I painted the banister, proudly ticked it off my list, and thought, done. But from constant touching, the paint is already peeling, and now it needs doing again. Ergo, it's right back on the list. So yeah, there will always be another project, another room, another thing I'd like to improve. And life is much the same. There's always another goal, another milestone, another thing I'm working towards. And it really made me think about how often I was actually living in when, telling myself I'll enjoy it when. I'll enjoy my home when it's finished. I'll relax when debt is gone. I'll feel successful when the business grows. I'll start living when I get that cottage in the woods I've been dreaming of. I'll start enjoying life when things settle down. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that life has a habit of replacing one unfinished thing with another. The shelves get hung, then the bedroom needs painting. The bedroom gets painted, then the garden needs work. The garden gets sorted, then something else appears. There is always another when. I'll be happy when, I'll relax when, I'll enjoy myself when. But what happens if that when keeps moving? What happens if every finish line is just replaced by another one? Why do we seem to insist that enjoyment should only come after the process is complete? Why can't it exist during the process? It feels like my brain just doesn't seem to be wired that way. Because, if it can only exist after, then we spend our entire life waiting for permission to be happy. Recently I found myself lying in bed, looking around my room. It's still nowhere near finished. There are still things to buy, things to hang, ideas that I haven't even brought to life yet. But I'd put up some pictures and I added some plants. I found a beautiful old vintage lamp and I fitted it with, a warm amber bulb. And as I sat there looking around, I realized something. I was happy. Not because the room was finished, far from it. It wasn't, it isn't. But because I could finally see the progress I had already made. I could see the beauty that was already there. And that felt important. And so I decided to get up and light a candle. Not because everything was perfect, but because it didn't need to be. I didn't want to wait until it was perfect before I allowed myself to enjoy it properly. I didn't want to miss out on the joy and the excitement of the process and the very life I'm trying to create. I decided that the candle didn't have to wait to burn until my room was perfect. It could burn in the calm celebration of what I had already achieved. And it made me wonder how often I postpone enjoyment, how often I deny myself little moments of happiness because something is still incomplete. The funny thing is, if we'd spent years without a home and somebody handed us the keys to this little house tomorrow, we'd probably sit in the middle of the floor feeling grateful just to be there. We'd light the candles, we'd admire the unfinished walls, talk about all the possibilities. We'd be excited about beginning the process. We'd enjoy picking out the paint and the decor and the furniture and creating our own space in a way that brings us peace and happiness. But somehow, once something becomes familiar, we stop getting excited about its potential. We stop seeing possibilities. And we begin to treat the possibilities as a frustrating annoyance that is robbing us of our time. It becomes an obstacle blocking our path to enjoyment. We don't seem to want to enjoy the process anymore. We just want it finished so we can get on with the enjoyment part of it. We stop seeing what we've gained and start focusing on what we haven't gained yet. And I think that's true of so much more than houses. It's just true in life. And honestly, I catch myself doing it all the time with a lot of things. I tell myself that I'll read more when things calm down. I'll do more crosswords and word searches when I have more time. I'll spend more time on hobbies when I've finished everything else on my list. The list that seems to never end. And every single time I tick something off, I add at least 3 more things to it. And before I know it, I've pushed things I actually enjoy doing further into the future again, waiting for a version of life where everything is finished first. A version that never really arrives. I mean, I was thinking nobody would tell you to wait until the end of your life before you're allowed to enjoy it. Nobody would say, don't enjoy your marriage until you've been married for 50 years. Don't enjoy raising your children until they've grown up. Don't enjoy your garden until every plant is mature. Don't enjoy your life until you're old enough to look back on it. We would think that would sound ridiculous, and yet sometimes we tend to do exactly that. We spend years waiting for life to be finished before we allow ourselves to enjoy it, waiting for the perfect house, the perfect circumstances, the perfect future, the perfect version of ourselves. I think to myself, I just want it done so I can enjoy it. But then what? The house gets done, and there's a garden project, a decorating project, something breaks, maybe a holiday to save for, another goal. And lately, I've been wondering if that's why so many people feel stuck. Because life isn't really something that arrives, it's something that's happening right now, in this very moment, in the middle of the decorating, in the middle of the uncertainty, the progress and the mess and the ordinary moments. For me, part of slow and intentional living, and life in general isn't about learning how to enjoy the finished product. It's learning how to enjoy the becoming, the half-finished rooms, the imperfect seasons, the work in progress. And I now feel, I feel that this is where life is actually happening. And yet I struggle to stay in the moment too often. And I remind myself the bread doesn't need to be baked before you're grateful for the flower. The garden doesn't need to be blooming before you're grateful for the seed. And my house doesn't need to be finished before I can be grateful and appreciative to have it and enjoy it. Because I think part of creating a peaceful life isn't in learning how to enjoy the finished product, but it's learning how to enjoy the becoming, the half-finished rooms, the dreams that are still unfolding, the life that is still taking shape, one small choice at a time, one room at a time, one day at a time. Because if we spend our whole lives waiting for everything to be finished before we're allowed to enjoy it, we'll miss the very life that we're working so hard to create. I know that life is not about arriving. It's about participating. But I say that as someone who still catches herself doing it, getting frustrated with the process, postponing enjoyment, waiting for everything to be finished for allowing myself to fully appreciate it. But I'm more aware of that now, and I'm trying to get much better at catching myself when I am like that, trying to remind myself to live in the moments and make time to enjoy the becoming just as much as the arrival. And honestly, that has made a real difference to my everyday life in so many ways. Thank you for walking with me today, and until next time, take care of yourself.